I tried to get a Reddit post removed that was a little scummy and hurting my business, and I failed over 6 months. I lost the war. But I got the last laugh today when I showed up on LinkedIn Lunatics, and I might win this battle. So let's dive in. Here's what happened. On the right, we have the Scams My Amazon Guy post. This was posted by somebody who looked at our website and may have purchased a coaching call. I can't really tell for sure whether they were actually a customer. I tried to determine. I went through every coaching purchase around the time of this Reddit post and came up with nothing. I DM'd the person and said, hey, I'll give you a refund. No response. This Scams post now ranks on Google anytime you look for My Amazon Guy reviews and some other branded terms. In the post, there are mixed feedbacks. Doesn't sound like a scam, just a bad deal. This isn't a scam, just a shitty drop shipping course. We're not a drop shipping course, right? A lot of misinformation or false claims and attacks from the trolls in Reddit. Sometimes I feel like I need a hazmat suit when I go into the Reddit forums. So I didn't like this. I paid erase.com to try and remove it. They also failed. So what can we do when we can't get the post down? You try and embrace it. I ended up posting an official response, but I got downvoted so hard nobody saw it. So that's where I'm at today with the Scams post. Well, last night on Reddit's my LinkedIn post went viral with over 3.2 thousand upvotes so far and counting in the first 12 hours. I'm now on the top of Reddit's forum for LinkedIn Lunatics. What's great about this is that I'm being seen as being tough on the issues, right? So they took a screenshot of my LinkedIn post, what it's like to run a company. You check on employees who sometimes no-show with no notice. Now, the rest of my contextual post is cut, but the people can see the rest of the screenshot. What did you do today? I don't see any new vids. So I'm talking to an American employee who was on day 4, and that was on Monday. They didn't respond to me, and they didn't pick up the phone. I couldn't get a hold of them. So Tuesday, I get the explanation. So let's zoom in on this so you guys can see this. Okay, so I get the explanation. I had to get a new laptop yesterday. The job I resigned from last week told me at first I could buy their laptop off them via final paycheck reduction, but IT reneged and I had to send it back. So yesterday was filled with that. I've also sent an ASIN video review now to Arian and Jin for the review as requested. So I ask, did you communicate to anyone yesterday? No, because I was very much focused on getting the new laptop and making sure all the tools were installed properly. Okay, so if you're going to no call, no show, that's a problem. I didn't like that. So I say, don't no show, no comm a second time, or you're out. I got a lot of heat for that exact phrase, and I'll read some Reddit comments where they go into detail on that. You didn't have a crisis where you couldn't send a one-line note. No comms doesn't work for me. All right? He then resigns on the spot. I'm sorry, Stephen, but the situation does not seem like where I'm supposed to be. I'm also sorry for myself because I quit my job for a job at MAG, which I'm now also quitting. I do expect my paycheck for hours work. However, today, 6/4, I do not expect any hours paid. Any further comms relating to HR can be sent to my personal email as I'm closing out Slack. Mic drop, right? Like just, I'm out. See ya. That happens sometimes with employees, right? I believe in being tough on the issues, but soft on the people. Many people are going to say I wasn't soft enough in this situation. I don't know. Like I was just trying to make sure he showed up to work, and it was day 4 with the no call, no show. Like usually employers love firing employees for that because it's the easiest firing ever. If you don't show up in the first week, you're out, right? Like that's a typical employer protocol. I also did some probing questions to make sure he didn't have like a car accident or a family death or something, but nope. He just decided not to work and didn't call in, didn't message, nothing. And if that's happening on day 4, I can see where this might go. So I was purposely hostile because that is the sort of situation that you have to cut that toxicity out immediately. Because if you don't, you allow the toxicity to permeate into the culture of your company, and that creates some challenges. Now that I've done the setup here, we're going to go into the actual comments. and I'll do some readings for you. It's stupid to name your company myamazonguy.com. Well, first of all, thank you for giving me a link to my website. That's fantastic. 1.5 thousand people upvoted that. So now I've got lots of people that have seen the site. My upcoming lawsuit.com was taken. I'm going to have a lawsuit for an employee quitting for me saying show up to work. Okay. That was fun. I don't understand this obsession with airing your dirty laundry on social media. I run an educational company. I'm edgy and educational. So it's on brand for me to post stuff like this. I've done it many times before, and I find that it attracts people that I want to be around. So that's a personal choice, but definitely not everybody's going to like it, and I know that. Guys' business is just to make fake reviews and fake videos and fake unboxings and fake likes and fake descriptions. All right, can't really defend myself from this guy, but I run a $20 million business. I have over 540 employees, and if I was running something that fake, I would have a problem. So I think the results speak for themselves. I kind of feel like this is the exact company you can no-show for work. Okay. Let's keep going. Dodged a bullet, but agree the guy should have notified someone. All right, we got some neutral ground going. I upvoted him. Yeah, but threatening employees is stupid. My boss does something sometimes and it drives me nuts because I get to deal with the nervous, anxious 18-year-old kid who's just trying to save up for a car and they think they're going to get fired. Don't communicate all day and ignore attempts to reach you? Sure, threaten or fire. But threatening someone when they're clearly already flustered and upsetting is just a good way to keep the churn going. Well, I think sometimes churning an employee who doesn't communicate on day 4 isn't a bad thing, right? Keep that in mind. Maybe I wanted him to quit because he no-called, no-showed. But I didn't want to necessarily fire him. I was going to give him the benefit of the doubt or a chance, but it didn't work out. I know it's not, am I the asshole? That's another sub. But I'll say everyone sucks here. Unbelievably ash-holish of Stevie here to talk to his employee like this. I get why the dude just decided to quit. Whole thing is basically a red flag, including him posting the combo to LinkedIn like he's the victim. Never posted it like I was the victim on LinkedIn. I was posting it for educational content. That said, it's really not hard to send a one-line text, "Hi, I need to be offline today due to a dispute with my former employer I need to resolve." So I'm even the people that are criticizing, I'm still getting but I kind of see where he's coming from. Yes. Let's go to the next thread here. Founder has time in his day to single out and talk shit to one of his most likely offshore workers. What a visionary. This was an American employee, actually, and they were specifically told what to do, and a list of instructions was provided. They had SOPs. There was full-on understanding of what was supposed to occur, and it didn't occur. So I think it's enlightening to share real-world scenarios on LinkedIn where mostly robots and AI are making garbage posts. I posted a real-world scenario because I knew it was a talker. And before I posted it on social media, I went to my executive team and I said, check this out. And I got responses like, is this a sitcom? Is this real? And when they responded like that, I knew it was something that should go on social media because others would respond similarly. And I found it interesting to see how that played out. All right, so now I'm going to show you the full context of the LinkedIn posts. I'm going to read some of the positive replies that I got on my LinkedIn posts, as well as some of the negatives, and then we'll go back to Reddit. So in here, here's the rest of the post. What it's like to run a company. You check on employees who sometimes no-show with no notice. You set standards that behavior is not acceptable, and they immediately quit. This is a real exchange with an employee today. The whole situation is bizarre. Without a computer, you can't work. I get it. But you can't ghost your employer a few days into the job, day 4, by the way, and expect things to work out. I didn't even fire them for no-showing once. I just said, don't do it again, to set a standard. I think I was being generous to no-show, no-comm a few days into a job is probably an employer's most confident firing ever. I will never know what was truly going on. What we see here is the scratch of the surface. Maybe they had a second job lined up, and we were the backup date. And then I added an edit here because I didn't specify that I actually had called him in this original post, and people were asking me in the comments. I called this person several times with no answer, thus the Slack message waiting for him to respond and cutting to the chase. All right, so down here in the comments, Chad Rubin says, so he's demanding a paycheck for just thinking about working? Sounds like an agency life is a blast. You set a standard for no-showed and comms, and they quit like you asked them to work weekends. Yeah, that was on a Monday. Now, that was a positive comment. Mike on the other side says, the way you're communicated over Slack is a bit icky. Doesn't anyone pick up the phone anymore? And that was what prompted me to write. I did call him several times. He didn't pick up. Huzaisfa says, dodged a bullet. However, I'd be careful with the you're out line. It sometimes backfires with a good employee, almost like a client telling you the first week in. My response, I've never met a good employee who ghosts on day 4, right? This almost reads like the transcript of a humorous skit on TikTok, says Kevin Sanderson. Sean says, I've been with MAG for years and report directly to Steven. This is a no-brainer, folks. If this happened in a corporate setting, the employer would have been terminated immediately. Stephen Pope has grace and always puts employees first. MAG equal moving upward. Our clients deserve the best. Imagine if I had assigned this employee to a client and they ghosted the client on that day. The client would fire MAG, right? Like, no question. They would just cut ties with MAG. If I would allow that sort of behavior to exist, they would fire me. So I can't allow that kind of thing. I can't tolerate that. You will regret about each second that you have wasted on him, says Solomon. Showing up to work or informing your situation is an important professional behavior. I agree. Oana says, double inhale and long exhale. Yes. Joey says, yep, happens way too often, even after the great interview process. What a wild interaction, says Sean. You're right. Clearly, they did not want to work for you. Jelena says, wow, I'm speechless. Gainish says, you're a bit too harsh, methinks, with the you're out. By the way, I did see a lot of people write a way that we could have worded this better. I'll read that next. So popping back over to the Reddit thread, the problem is you're not learning from it. Right message, horrible delivery, and execution. Lead with kindness and compassion. It costs nothing and brings about big returns. Hey, we missed you yesterday. Everything okay? I don't think I'd have to say this, but if you're not going to be around when we expect you to be, please make sure to give a heads up. We aren't the kind of place you can just be off without giving a heads up. Anywho, are you settled now with new equipment-wise? I got to be honest, I think this is exactly how I should have worded it. In retrospect, I would have done it exactly like Global Research wrote it right here. Fantastic. This is also one of the reasons why I like posting content on social media, is because I get to learn from it just as much as you do. This guy nails it right here. So I'll just straight up own it and say this was my favorite thing I learned from this whole process right here. Back over to LinkedIn. So Mina, good friends with Mina. He's always usually backing me up on some of these hostile situations. I'm sorry I couldn't message you. I was so busy returning the computer I didn't even have take a shit that day. So Elizabeth says, man, bullet dodged. Samit says, from where I sit, holding people accountable and not sugarcoating or placating is great leadership. That means a lot. Samit is an executive advisor over at Culture Index, which is a tool that we use at MAG for the past 3 years to help us find people that are a good fit to work at MAG. So I am a big fan of Samit, and he definitely would have handled the situation the same way. Is kind of what he's saying. So he says, looks like you got lucky. Sometimes you do as an employer, hiring is guessing, firing is knowing, right? Like, we know it wasn't working out. We didn't actually even fire the guy, technically. Like, I just said, don't do that again. And he quit on the spot. I wonder why so many MAG employees leave with such an attitude. We have witnessed many posts like this in the past. Like 2 out of 540 employees is a lot. If not everything. However, standards should be set from day one than trying to make your employees insecure, feel devalued, and telling them you're out next time. Do I really have to tell employees that if you don't show up or don't communicate that that's not cool? Like, do I actually have to say that? Like, is that not common sense? And again, we've already established I could say something a little bit better than just simply you're out. 100%, we've established that. But I don't think I need to tell somebody, hey, if you don't show up on day 4 and don't communicate, like, your job is definitely not going to be there when you come back day 5. I mean, like, come on, guys. There's a lot of good rebuttals that are also posted in here. And a lot of people who agree don't necessarily want to go respond to some of the hater messages, right? But Keith, brave man here, this is probably the most ridiculous comment I've seen on LinkedIn all day. If you don't know that no calling and no showing is unacceptable under almost any circumstance, maybe you shouldn't have a job, period, let alone within the first few months at a new job. This is a prime example of not wanting to be held accountable and realizing that another dumb American company will hire you in 3 hours hoping they won't actually make you work because maybe they have 5,000 employees and you can just fly under the radar for a few months. It's not being hard on people. It's setting an organizational standard and expecting everyone to buy into that standard. High achievers hate mediocre players, and mediocre players hate high achievers. Ooh, full stop, mic drop on that one. The two can't coexist in the same high-performing organization. Credit to Nick Saban. I loved Keith's message right here, right? Like, I'm trying to create a high-performing organization, and no call, no show, definitely on the low performer side. Anthony says, if you thought posting this was a good idea, think again. Regardless of how right you think you are, airing this dirty laundry just plain stinks. So I've learned a lot from this, right? How I could have worded it better. And I got a viral post on LinkedIn Lunatics on Reddit, which I'm going to get business from. And I'm going to get job applications from people who think like I do. I think this is a massive win. Honestly, I really do. And now I get to dethrone the scams sub post with this one, right? And some of you are going to be like thinking, well, why would I make this YouTube video to then rehash out all of the Reddit stuff? Because when somebody types in Reddit my Amazon guy, this video is now going to rank for that, and they're going to see all of the context and the full story behind it, and they're going to be able to make up their own minds. And the people who err against me won't hire me. They won't be a client, and they're not going to want to work for me. And guess what? That's okay. When you're in marketing, it's your job to be pushing as much as you're pulling. If you're so generic, your brand is generic, nobody wants to work for that. It's not attractive. It doesn't set a culture up for success. So I have been very strategic in making a brand that cuts to the chase, that calls Amazon seller support terrible to their face online, which, by the way, I get a lot of accolades for doing that. People egg me on. And for calling out tough issues and speaking to the core and helping people figure out how to solve problems. Organizational structures, right? Like, I run a 540-person agency. It is extraordinarily difficult to do that. I have to find people who are willing to deal with people problems like this one 24/7. That, like, how do you find, it's like the guy who made that expedition to Antarctica, like, 100 years ago or whatever, and he's saying, in his news article, I'm gonna see if I can find it. All right, I found it. Men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success, by Ernest Shackleton. So this is incredibly powerful. And if you look this story up, their journey was successful. Why? Because it attracted the sort of man that would succeed in these conditions. The high drive guy who would go into Antarctica knowing that there is a chance of no return under these conditions. It attracted that sort of person. So me making LinkedIn posts, YouTube videos about these situations will attract the sort of person who will succeed in an agency. Somebody's going to watch this video, send me an email, and they're going to say, Steven, because of this content, I decided to apply at MAG. And then we may hire them. And then they may succeed at MAG, and then they will help propel that message further. So that's why I do this. I'm going to try and bounce back and forth between positive replies and negative. So Hussein says, I can't believe those who talk about courtesy here are still in business. I wonder if they've ever worked in a corporate job in their lives. And I don't know if I need to say this or not, but a lot of people that are on Reddit live in their parents' basements. And if you've not seen the interview on Fox News with the Reddit moderator, I may suggest go looking that up. I'm going to play this for you. Maybe. All right, here we go.
You guys have been texting me about the 30-year-old dog walker I interviewed on Tuesday. Remember this? How many hours is a solid work day in your ideal society?
Sure. I mean, I think as much as people want. I mean, I personally work. I have like a 25 hour work weeks, which I think is fairly good.
25.
So I would like less work hours.
And what
I
do
think
you
a lot
do,
of people
Doreen?
I'm a dog walker.
Well, the anti-work movement not happy about that interview. So they fired Doreen Ford, saying, quote, "We can't afford to half-ass our opportunities to spread our message. We need someone who's prepared to deliver convincing talking points eloquently to a hostile audience." Me, hostile? Someone who is trained, passionate, and has plenty of energy. All right, well, I'm sorry to see that Doreen is no longer doing that, and I guess maybe she now has more time on her hands.
If you go look up that full interview, you're in for a treat. You're in for a full ride, and that's what it's like. Everyone is a lunatic here. Here's a neutral one. Steven looks like the villain based on that scammy 1996 business name alone, but laptop guy sounds like a flake at best. All right, we got to everybody's a lunatic here type of neutral angle. Kevin on LinkedIn says, all he had to do was notify someone of the situation. I don't understand what he was thinking. Me neither. Cody says, my man keeps responding, how many employees do you manage? Like he personally manages all 540 employees his agency claims to have. Well, here's my Slack, guys. In the general chat right there, 539. Excuse me, I was off by one. And I'm just going to scroll through Gen Chat right here so you guys can see what we do. So Shira says, I just want to give a shout out. Jim says, good morning, happy Friday. HubSpot's currently down. Jeffrey Lenz celebrating his 1 year anniversary. Good for him. Kristen talks about how we had amazing feedback from a testimonial from a client. We had a core value winner. Allie just won that for being soft on the people. What is that? We have a core value, soft on the people, but tough on the issues? Yes, we do. Here are the core values that we stand for at My Amazon Guy. Learning, eagerness, consistent communications, which, by the way, that one guy that didn't make it didn't have that. Tech savvy, the sort of person who has their own computer at home and can send a message, and teaching. On the right, we have manager values, multiply yourself, soft on the people. I didn't come in perfectly on soft on the people on this one. So I want to make sure I'm fair to the issue. I think a lot of people that gave me heat were right. I wasn't soft enough, 100%. Tough on the issues, though. Hard to do this. It is hard to balance being soft on the people, but tough on the issues. Sometimes can be very difficult to get the right balance between the two. Extreme ownership, got to seize the accountability, and radical candor. So how do you be soft on the people while being tough on the issues but giving radical candor? I don't know how Spock does it on Star Trek, but that's pretty much why we have the live long and prosper. I don't even know if I can make the sign. There we go. Right. I don't watch Star Trek per se, but I do like Spock. So he's got a couple things right, in my opinion. Here's an interesting comment. I actually do believe this person is telling the truth. Never thought I'd see this shitty agency on here. I used to work there as a brand manager. Their business practices are incredibly shady. I ended up getting let go because I was completely private in a professional manner, reached out to my supervisor about how I was being asked to do nearly 12 hours of work every day, but they'd only compensate me for 8. This is a very important highlight I'm putting up on screen here. If you can't do the work that we see all 500 employees do in 8 hours and it takes you 12, that is an example of you being in the wrong place. And so if the rest of the story is 100% factual and we let them go following that conversation, it makes perfect sense. Why? Because they were stressing. It wasn't a good fit for them. They would be able to make it better somewhere else. So I don't know which individual this is, but I'll read the rest of their message. How I was fine with, I wasn't. I just wanted to didn't want it to get me fired, but it still did. I guess me raising the concern was enough to still have them get rid of me, but would like at least a slight increase of pay, but was literally my state's minimum wage, and then was fired later that day. When I asked if I could keep my job at my current pay, they want to do another job hunt. They said no and still fired me. Was quite good at my job, by the way. My output was great. Clients liked me, and my immediate supervisor liked me because she never had to micromanage me. Then why would we have fired them, right? Like, you couldn't it took you 50% longer than the other employees to do the same job. and you were paid minimum wage, if any of this adds up, right? This dude was probably an intern, right? Like this dude probably was an intern. So I don't. It's sometimes it's interesting that like when you help an employee by removing them from a situation that's bad for them, they look back and don't take any accountability. They don't like introspectively think about how we've done them a favor, right? If it was such a shitty environment and we didn't pay him enough, shouldn't he be thanking us for helping him move on to his next opportunity? Now, obviously, I don't ask for that thanks. That's not the point. But it's a question of ownership, right? Like if you are in that situation and you get fired and you look backwards and you can't move on and you have all that resentment, that's a you problem. That's not an us problem. Jason says, people are laughing at you on Reddit. This isn't the kind of publicity you are seeking, I should hope. I'm no influencer, so what do I know? Well, I don't know. I think I'm going to come out ahead on this one, Jason. It's a bizarre post that represents who we are accurately, and it will attract people that would do well at MAG, right? And it's going to polarize and push away the people that shouldn't be at MAG or don't want to be at MAG or wouldn't want to apply at MAG or be in that environment. Michael says, what a bizarre post. Yes, I agree. Simon says, what a way to treat employees. We used MAG and had 3 different account managers in 3 months. I now know why. For such a gospel preaching person, he is really just a greedy guy. All right, Simon, I'll send this employee over to you and you can hire the person who will no show, no call, and you can hire them and pay them yourself. No problem. Jeff says, he didn't want to work, just collect unemployment. I had an employee who worked for me for 2 weeks, didn't do anything. Showed up late and didn't do work. When I fired them, they immediately applied for unemployment. I, the employer, had to prove why I fired them and I refused to pay. It took a while, but I did not have to pay unemployment. A lot of folks who have never run their own business don't understand why you have to be an asshole sometimes to deal with cons. I'm a really nice guy, but sometimes I have to be hard to defend myself and my business. I love that comment because that dude has some road rash. He's been there. He's been in the trenches and seen it. The American dream requires businesses and people to be entrepreneurial and deliver. At MAG, if we don't deliver to our clients, the end results will be insufficient, will be fired. They'll be singing Janet Jackson, "What have you done for me lately?" Right? And so there's an expectations set to deliver. And if people don't deliver, it's not going to work out. If it takes them 50% longer, if they don't show up, if they can't communicate well, like working at an agency is quite difficult. So we head into those objections like head on, right? I'm talking about real world things here. I'm talking about how what's affected me at my agency. It's difficult to manage lots of employees. It's difficult to deal with lots of clients. All of these things are representative of what it's like to be at an agency. This is going to push out 90% of people who don't want to be in that environment. But that 10% who likes the difficulty, likes the chaos, loves having their own autonomy to figure out how to grow an Amazon account, wants to figure out how to structurally grow, how to manage 8 people, realizing they're going to have employees like that on occasion where they're going to have to be tough on the issues. And they want to learn how to be tough on the issues but soft on the people, and how to have radical candor and is attracted to all of those other core values that I mentioned. That's who I'm trying to reach. And sometimes you have to do messages like this to reach those people, to get the message out there. And sometimes you have to put out a lot of quantity of content. And maybe you don't get the content perfect, but by going through the motions, it leads to success and other opportunities. I fully realize that this video will hurt me with some people, but I'm also a big believer that it will help me with the right people that I'm trying to reach, the people that will believe in my message. Those are the people I want to hire MAG. Those are the people I want to hire at MAG. My current staff will know and will learn that no call, no showing is unacceptable. That's also a win for me too. My name is Stephen Pope, and I'm now at the top of LinkedIn Lunatics. And I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy, a $20 million ARR agency that helps over 400 brands in the Amazon space. And if you're an Amazon brand watching this and you hire us, you're going to know that we're going to take that same pizzazz that you saw in this video and in the rest of our content and go fight Amazon to help you grow your brand and your business. Thanks for watching. Please leave some comments, both the good and the ugly. I want to hear both sides again. Let's keep the conversation going.